Are you looking to level up your author business?
Are you pounding your head against a wall, wondering what your next step should be? Then join me, Daniel Wilcox.
And me, Sacha Black, as we haul ass each week in a bid to level up.
Level up!
Come along for the ride as we delve deep into the business of writing,
Craft,
entrepreneurship,
and every level of the author journey. This is the Next Level Author Podcast.
Hello, Achievers, and welcome to episode 72 of the Next Level Authors Podcast, a podcast where we hold each other to account, not you guys, and track our step-by-step progress as we, not you, level up our author businesses. How am I being a dick this morning? I haven't been thus far, and now I am. I'm really sorry. My name's Daniel Wilcox, and here with me every week is... Sacha doesn't know what just happened.
You know what I've just realised? It's only taken me... What episode is this?
I've literally just said it.
Literally wasn't listening because I was so perplexed
72.
by what just happened. Right. It's taken me 72 episodes. Do you know what I say when I do the intro?
This is...
The Next Level Author Podcast. Wait, or do I say Next Level Authors? Anyway, I heard you say authors and was like, wait, what? I thought it was Next Level Author Podcast.
Look at your t-shirt. Oh, no, that's not going to work.
It is Next Level Author.
No, that's I'm a Next Level Author because that's a custom t-shirt for people. It's the
exactly.
Next Level Authors Podcast.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the comments and the image, and that's why I was like, huh? It's Next Level Authors. I don't even know what podcast I run.
It is authors.
No, I know. I'm saying I thought it was author.
Oh. Wow. 72 episodes. Like more than that, conversations in the background around what the podcast is called, the setup of the podcast.
I will always be special, okay, honey?
I mean, that's one way to do it. How are you, Sacha? How's your week been?
My week has been lovely.
Wow, that was
no, like genuinely, like it has been lovely. But I have learned some lessons that I should not put childcare immediately after a launch because I'm exhausted and I'm coming back to work and I'm exhausted and I do not feel rested. That sounds really ungrateful and very grateful for the time off, but like it didn't really feel like time off. Like like yesterday I noped out and was like, here's your iPad. That was it. That was the end of that conversation. Yeah, well, I just felt really guilty and then I felt really bad all day, so I cleaned the house all day.
Parent guilt.
Yeah, and did like 2 loads of washing, hoovered everywhere, wiped all the sides down, cooked lovely meals, all of that shit, and then wondered why I was absolutely fucked by the evening.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, well, I'm really tired. I feel like I'm going to have to take some more time off because I'm really tired and I've got a sore throat and I feel heady, like I've got a bit of a headache. Like I'm not ill. I don't have time for illness, but like I feel like I'm on the fringe of a cold. You know, when you're on the fringe of a cold, and it can go one of two ways. You can either like snort vitamins and make it fuck off, or you're going to get sick. And so I've been snorting.
Please advise at the Next Level Authors Podcast is not a medical podcast and do professional advice from 2 authors.
So I've been taking loads and loads and loads of vitamins, and I think I may be keeping it at bay. So we'll see. But yeah,
I down a carton of orange juice like that for sometimes like 70% of the time. That works for me every time. Yeah,
right. Like, isn't it fun? So I take Barocca. And then I take like loads of vitamin and minerals. Like my dad has a natural health company. So I'm like, Daddy, can you send me some goodies, please? Sacha needs goodies. Here you go. So yeah. And then, so I'm okay. I am okay. I've had a wonderful break. Like I've really enjoyed quite a few things. I'm sure we'll talk about those things in the enjoyment week section. So how's your week?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the best things that I found has staved off like illnesses. I don't know if anyone's come across this or tried this yet, but there was a pandemic, or is a pandemic, like that's been going on for about a year and a half. And in staying away from people, I found that miraculously I've been a lot less ill. So I'd highly recommend that. Like have a pandemic. And
well,
then...
because funnily enough, because we've been out this week, I actually tested. I did a COVID test yesterday because I was like, oh, don't want to, like, and I would really not want to ever give it to anybody. So yeah, but I tested negative. So, which also isn't really a surprise because I was like, this just feels like I'm exhausted rather than it being a real cold, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But I also think that so the fact that you have had like a week off, like you say, like looking after a kid is work. And that's one thing that I know that I've definitely sort of struggled with my situation, is that I work like hard Monday to Friday. And then I have my boy like Friday through Sunday. So I never really ever get like time that is just mine that I take off.
Yeah.
Next week is probably, next week will be the longest stint of time in which I've been away, not had him, and will not be at work, which will be 5 days out in the Lake District. It's going to be beautiful. But it's, I totally feel you on that. It's a different type of work, but it's still, it takes a lot of bandwidth.
I think the last time I had time off when I wasn't with him and I wasn't working, I don't remember. I don't think there was. No, there wasn't any time. Oh no, Dubrovnik. No, because I kind of worked there as well. I don't think I've ever had time off where I've not worked or been with him ever. Because when we go away, which is the closest thing to a break, like on a holiday, we're still with him. And then like one of the mistakes we've made, which we're now going to correct, is whenever we go away, we go self-catering, but then as head chef, I still end up doing all the cooking. So it's not great for me. Yeah. So one of the things we've agreed, and this has come out of the pandemic, is that we're going all inclusive next time because like I'm done.
Yeah. Pamper yourself. Yeah. My week's been good. Because I had the last 2 weeks off, not fully off, like I had the boy and I kind of kept the bare minimum of work to be done. So this week I was back full force. I have lofty goals. My 3 big things on my list were
You're such a hypocrite, can I just say?
Why?
Because you always browbeat me and my ridiculous lists and goals, and then you're like, I've got lofty goals.
3 things.
I'm like, I know, bitch.
3 things. Number 1, finish my edits from When Winter Comes. Number 2, do some 15,000 words of client work. And number 3, stuff to do with the thing. And
was that this week?
So that's my list for this week, yeah. Not the goals for this show.
Week or not next week?
From Monday. Just gone.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm doing nothing when I'm away. That's why I'm doing this, to get ahead. And yesterday I finished my edits of When Winter Comes.
What?
Like I did so from Monday through to last night, I edited 100,000 words of this book. And it wasn't a light edit as I thought it would be. I did go through, the script is littered in red. Lots of things, like the story is the same, lots of stuff is the same. There are tweaks just to tighten the narrative and to make it easier to read and things.
Was this, sorry, just for clarification, was this a hand edit on your iPad?
Oh no, I started
this was
doing
on
that,
screen,
and then that process turned out to be incredibly slow, much more accurate, but also incredibly slow. And I need to get through this, and this is technically the 4th edit, because it went through 3 rounds of edits when I first wrote it last year, but I've had time away from it. Like I've combed through it. I'm literally holding a comb as I say that. I don't know why. And I don't even know where it came from. So yeah, 100,000 words I went through, and the fun of this week, is I had Wednesday I thought would be a completely free day for me. I had no appointments booked in. And then Wednesday morning, I had calls from my solicitor about the house. And then I had calls from my mortgage advisor about the house. And then I had to do this. And then this happened. And then my road tax had to get sorted. And I had like just distraction left, right, and center. But I still managed to do it because I'm like, this week, this is all I want to do. I just want to get this book done. And I wrapped it up last night.
Isn't it amazing what we can do when we focus on one thing?
Yeah. That's like, I think that is my biggest revelation this year after talking to Ellie from Better Faster. Just if I do that one thing at a time, just get it done. Boom. And it has. This book has been lingering in my head for edits since back in February. And I even had messages with my cover designer, because obviously you need to get the page numbers to know what the paperback or the hardback's going to look like. And he's now sorted that out. But the last message I had with him was in March, where I was like, it'll be with you next week. And I was like, we're in August. So yeah, I did it. I did that. And it was cool because I did my writing group session last night from 7 till 9, and then was about 6,000 words away from completion. And I was like, I'm just getting this done, and just went for it. So happy days.
I'm incredibly proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, darling.
The cover's beautiful, and it's going to be a beastie book. Even the hardback, which is 9x6, is going to turn out to be nearly 500 pages. So yeah, big one. And the thing, and this kind of goes into my thing that I've enjoyed this week, is when I finished that book, I had a real unexpected moment of overwhelm, because, as I've said on this podcast a few times, I think this is my first solo novel. This will be my 49th book that I've contributed to or written, and it's my first solo novel. And it's a story that has been brewing, and I've got like notes back from 2016 when it first came to me in this writers group that I used to attend, just like a couple of paragraphs of a situation. And it's now 140,000 words. It's going to be a beautiful hardback. The cover's amazing. It's already getting like rave reviews on Amazon from the serial. And for me, it genuinely was the closest I felt to when I finished my first novella since that day. So it's just, yeah, it was, and then I sat and I like just drank in the dark. But yeah, so I'm happy with that. And that's one of my things that I enjoyed this week, which we'll go seamlessly into, because my second thing that I'll quickly throw out there is I've lost 5 pounds.
Done. Well
5
done,
pounds
darling.
in 2 weeks from working with my sister as a nutritionist, and also just exercising more and walking more.
That is fantastic. I've probably put on 5 pounds this week. I haven't even been on the scales.
Sacha now.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And well done to your sister for corralling you into that.
Yeah, and the beard's coming on. It's getting nice and fluffy.
What's the progress towards the waist measurement?
I'm not allowed to measure myself until the end of the 8-week program.
Wow. So you are gonna keep growing for 8 weeks regardless.
Yes.
Okay.
So watch on YouTube, folks, because this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
What's something you've enjoyed this week?
So I started reading the Rebel anthology stories this week. I've got through quite a few. I got through, I think, 9 or 10 stories in 2 days. So I sort of read 5 a day. And then I had to take a little break just because I find good. Well, I binge read in cycles. So like a book usually takes me 2 days to read, and then like I have to go on to something else. So I think I'm going to have to intersperse them, because I said that I would finish reading and make the decisions by the end of September. I would like to have finished reading them by the end of August, but I can't promise to do that because I've got like 45,000 other things to finish by the end of this month. But so yeah, of the stories that I've read so far, it's been a very interesting lesson to me. And I think I'm going to do a lessons learned to help other people, because there are some very similar mistakes that are being made.
With their prose or with running an anthology?
This will be for entrance.
I've got a lot to say on that.
Yeah, because, well, maybe we should do an episode on that, because like I'm seeing there are very few people who have proofread their stories, and if they have proofread them, they haven't had somebody else proofread them for them. Now, of course, I'm gonna edit, and then they will be edited by a proofer.
That's not.
But it makes a difference to how you read the story. And anyway, there has been, so of the 9 or 10 that I've read, there's been one incredible story that just from start to finish was an absolute masterpiece. And this person, I I think lacks confidence, and once this is all out in the open, I'm going to bully them until they publish. So because the world needs their words. You know, when you get that gem of a story and you're like, fuck, this person needs to have their story out in the world.
They got it.
They got skills. And so yeah, I'm going to make it my personal mission to bully that person.
Light isn't
publishing.
I return.
So I've really, really enjoyed that. I've enjoyed it for so many different reasons. I've enjoyed it because I've loved like looking at different skill levels. I've loved like seeing the different takes on the theme. I've loved
it's a very broad theme.
It is. And there's been quite a few submissions that are in the realm of similar, like that are similar. The stories are all very different, but like, I'm going to have to talk to you about this offline. But there has been a number of people who have taken the same slant kind of thing on the theme. And it's not the slant that I would have submitted if it was the other way around and I was submitting to it, which is really interesting. So but it's been delightful. I've really genuinely enjoyed reading the stories, and so I think I'm going to do like blocks of 10, and then because there's like a lot of stories to get through, but yeah, I'm like really loving it.
That's very exciting.
Yeah
I do kind of miss that process. I'm in the tail end of my anthology at the minute, doing the final approvals with the authors. So soon that'll be up for pre-order and stuff. But I do like it's work to read through what we call in the business slush. But at the same time, it is really enlightening and just exciting to like, it's like mining for gold. And seeing all these stories on the same topic teaches me something, and reading short stories of different standards all in one go teaches me something. Like I feel like I am learning. almost feel selfish because I'm learning so much from this. You get a real sense of like, why does this work, or why does this not work? And then I understand more what I like and what I don't like by reading other people's stories. And in fact, there was a second story that was exceptionally well written that I'm also considering, but obviously I've still got a lot of stories to go, so I can't make any decisions on any of them. But there were just a couple of things, and once you've read a few stories, it becomes very obvious where those gaps are in somebody's storytelling. But yeah, I just love it. And what I love more is that I am going to be a cheerleader for this person whose story, because I know they haven't published, and I am going to cheerlead the shit out of this person, because I've never read any of that person's work, and it is fantastic. And so I was really surprised in mine, because we both do the process of blind read. So obviously all we get is a title and the story, like just to make it fair, no biases, none of that, or minimizing as many biases as there can be. And I was incredibly surprised to find that when I picked my finals, there was one story that it was fantastic. And it wasn't until I went to email the author that I was like, oh, I know this person. They've been following me on Instagram for about 3 years, and I've been following them. And I messaged them and I was like, hey, what a small world. Like, I blind read your stuff and it's fantastic. And it was just that moment of like you say, it's cheerleading someone, it's championing someone's work and helping them get a bit more visibility.
Well, so here's the interesting thing for me. So at the moment, I am mixing up reading patron stories with non-patron stories. And oddly, I'm actually able to guess who they are by their writing. And I've never read any of their writing. And I don't know what that skill is, but it's very, very odd being able to see whose stories it is. And so I don't look at the master spreadsheet, because obviously I want to be completely unbiased. And I don't know until after I've read the story. So I'm reading blind, but the whole time I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's this person, or, oh, I wonder if it's that person, or, and then like there have been a couple that I've guessed right. but I get Atlas or Chloe to check the spreadsheet for me and just say whose name it is after I've read the story. Because as soon as I've read the story, I've kind of made the decision as to whether or not it's going in the yes pile, the maybe pile, or the no pile.
Yeah.
So the thing that's important to me is reading blind. But yeah, there's been a few that I've guessed correctly. And I don't know if this is because I'm dead on the inside, but it doesn't make a blind bit of fucking difference about whether or not I like the story. Because like I, in reading so many stories all at the same time, intuitively whether or not it's a really good story or just like a good story, or like, okay, this story. And this is the other interesting thing, even where there are stories and people, like, you can see there are still some sort of, prose mistakes that a lot of newer writers make, you can still see a kernel of something. Everybody that's submitted, I can see a little diamond, a little raw diamond, covered in ore or whatever, that actually over the next few years they're going to become really fucking good writers. But you can, I don't know, I've really enjoyed this process much more than I thought I would. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, so over into Patreon updates. We have no new patrons this week, but for anyone who wants to get early access to the podcast and also join us on our live Q&As, then head on over to patreon.com/nextlevelauthors. And just a reminder for people who can time travel, we went and got drunk on Friday night with the people live on Facebook. I don't know how that's going to go yet, but we're going to find out later tonight and we'll have some fun.
No, but what I will say is I'm not going to be drinking shots.
I'm not going to do shots. I'm not 15.
Well, that's what we agreed to do.
Oh, I've got whiskey.
I'm going to go and get a bottle of wine because I don't think I can handle anything else.
You can shot wine.
I'm not shotting.
Updates from us. So for me, the self-publishing blueprint is still on sale and it's still selling, which is amazing for me. But it's your how-to guide to get your book from idea to self-publish in the most successful way that you can and achieve your writing goals. Head on over to danielwilcox.com/blueprint or grab it on all available platforms now. Sacha, what you got?
Well, I actually have a discount running at the moment for the Anatomy of Prose, the census course. And you can use the code RebelVacay15, RebelVacay15.
Such a new discount code.
I know.
Rebel Vacay.
So I can put that information in the show notes. Yeah, and the side characters is still on sale. And you can get that anywhere. You can get signed copies from me at sashablack.co.uk, or you can get it anywhere else you like.
Beautiful. Level ups. Do we have a level up?
Yep.
So I have one already. So level up this week, we've got Chelsea Felber, who says, I leveled up. Everything is loaded up to Zon for my debut novel, paperback and ebook. I also sent out ARCs tonight and have my outline for the sequel all hashed out. So congrats, Chelsea, on the debut novel, which actually this was a couple of weeks ago. So this might already be out and done. So if you've not looked up Chelsea Felber on Amazon and got a book, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for, Sacha? Buy it. Buy it now.
I will go do that then.
Okay, no, do it now. We'll wait. And a reminder for people of the Level Up Challenge. So for people who want to get involved in the Q3 Level Up Challenge running July to September, everything's over on the Facebook group. Our challenges are on there. There are prizes for people who pledge to do the thing and complete the thing that they pledge to do. And those prizes are
my little input pile here.
You got it. That's a little pile.
An input pile there.
And the prizes are a 30-minute call with myself and Sacha, or a hardback copy of the Self-Publishing Blueprint, or a copy of Sacha Black's 10 Steps to Hero workbook.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me, I need to sort out the call from the last one because they were busy and then I was busy. So I need to sort that. I need to write that down.
And then we'll go into comments, which was from episode 71. The question, how do you decide what to prioritize?
Edwin Downward says, this is one of those tricky things where I find myself falling back on the related question. Ooh. How do I actualize the priorities I have set for myself into concrete action? As a people pleaser, it's too easy to let myself be distracted by requests to help other people with their priorities when I should be concentrating on my own. Shane Miller says, health first, writing second, everything else badly.
I love that.
Yeah, so do I. And then a.loyalm. on YouTube says, what Dan says is right, Sash. You need to find a team, which is also a big thing, and reduce your goals to still lesser number and select the best you can. Like you're good in nonfiction, so focus on it and keep fiction as a secondary. You will get more time for the lesser goal. Little sacrifice by cutting a few goals, tertiary ones, putting more energy on your best shots, maybe fewer in number, but sure ones will ultimately make you happier in a few years.
Stuff to consider. Now, thank you for everyone that commented. And Sacha, are you ready for your question?
I don't know.
You set yourself up for this question.
Oh, for fun.
Just an FYI, like it's really, really nice for me that we're in quite a few different groups together and you voice a lot of what's going on. It makes it so easy to come up with questions. And I think this is a really important one because I am not immune to this at all. And it's definitely something I need to consider. Because as creatives, as writers, the one thing that we know works marketing-wise and business-wise is to keep producing. So what are your writing boundaries?
Boundaries? I don't understand the question.
How do you protect your writing time?
I hate you. Oh, you're such a bastard. Well, the honest question is that I don't, and I haven't for a really long time. And I think I realized that during BeccaCon. Well, maybe not just BeccaCon. It's been a slow realization. So since I changed my goal from a financial goal to produce more, there's been a bit of a realization that I want to produce more books, but I also have other things that I want to produce. And because I'm competitive, the key to feeling satisfied is ensuring there is a metric to measure what I'm producing, which means I need to find a metric to measure production on things that are not words, because, and I will get to the boundaries, but this is leading me to the boundaries. And so that has been a problem. I don't know. Now I stopped myself. I don't know why I was going down that train of thought. But anyway, so one of the things that I learned at the conference is people who are high achiever and high strategic specifically, but high achiever along with it, almost always don't put words first. And that's a problem because you then struggle to put the words in at other points of the day. Now, that rings true to me as well. The problem that I've got genuinely is that I'm not a morning person. And I trained myself to write at night. Since I left my job, I don't think I've ever really put in a process for getting the words out. I just smash whenever I can smash, and that's it. However, over the last couple of weeks in particular, I've been working on this topic, this problem. How do I produce more? So I've done a few things. The first thing I did was I set out what I want to achieve in a year. You're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you. So I want to write 2 nonfiction books, which is also 2 workbooks, 2 fiction books. So technically that's 6 books a year, although to me it will feel like 4 books a year because the workbooks are like so easy to produce because it's an iteration on content so to me it feels like 4 books, or I'll say 4.5 books, even though it would be 6 physical products. So 4 books a year, 2 courses and 2 audiobooks. Right? I know that's sure probably something that doesn't even feel ridiculous to me. That feels like a friggin' step down. Anyway, so what I then did was, because to put these boundaries in place, you have to know what it is that you want to achieve. So I calculated very conservatively and sort of said, worst case scenario, how many words does that mean I need to get in a year? And it was about, I think it was 320,000 or something, or 300 something thousand. And conservatively, I write 1,000 words an hour. Sometimes it's as low as 700. Sometimes it's as high as 1,700. So it probably averages out at about 1,000 words an hour over time. And so the way that I'm measuring now is, sorry. How did I do this? I can't remember how I got to this, but I know the answer. Anyway, so the answer was basically I need to write more or less 2 hours a day every working day, except Fridays, where is podcast day. Mm-hmm. So it equates to 160 sessions a year. 160 2-hour sessions will get me 320,000 first draft words. So the way that I'm going to track this now is on a little tracker. And so I've broken it down. And that means, because this is the thing, the other things, I learned so many things, and I actually really would love to talk to you about this. But anyway, One of the other things I learned is that I am very bad at breaking down my big project goals. So I don't really do milestones. I see that finish line and that's it. But one thing that will help me, particularly in the middle of projects, is these milestones. And people have told me this for years and I've never listened. But what they were saying is, if you can win each stage of your book production or each stage of the project, you give yourself more motivation. So I've broken it down, and that means per quarter I have to do 42-hour writing sessions, which means per month I have to do 13.3 recurring sessions. So I just rounded it up to 14. So 14 a month is, I can't then do the math, like 3 or 4 a week, essentially. 4 times a week, 4 working days, I have to do 2 hours a day. So that needs to be my boundary. And that needs to be my black and white. This is what I have to do. Now, because of my writing process, it's going to be a little bit rocky getting into this, because I have to do a lot of input before I can output. So one of the things that has come off the back of that, 2 things: a no list, which I'll tell you about in a second, and a reading list. I am very much a mood reader, but if I want to achieve my ultimate goal of writing more, I'm going to have to input more strategically and more intentionally. So I am going to have to start creating monthly reading lists, which means I'm not going to be able to read, like I often read stuff for other people. So I'm going to have to do slightly less of that, at least in the interim, whilst I am trying to cram information in so I can start these writing sessions. So this is a very long-winded way of getting to where I'm getting to.
It's good.
So one of the things I've really been very thinky about this. So one of the things, so the no list. This is, so off the back of the conference, I have literally gone through and created like things for myself, general notes, questions to ask myself, like useful questions. So like one of the question is, but are you going to quit? No, I'm fucking not, of course, obviously. So, but these are the types of questions that somebody at high competition needs to be asked. Do you need to change the game? Maybe. Sometimes I have to change the game. And then I've got an action list, and like this is my action list. And so, yeah, anyway, on the action list, I've got say no more, say no a lot, say no to everything for the rest of the year until you've closed off all of your current projects, and create a no list, because I'm rubbish at when things come in, I just end up saying yes. So if I've got a no list, which I'm going to laminate, I'm literally going to laminate the no list. I'm going to put things on there that I need to say no to, because I can then treat myself like a baby, to be perfectly honest with you, see the email come in, check my no list. Is it on the no list? Well, then it's a no. So some people have to make decision trees. Some people have to write no lists. So a no list is on my to-do list. And then the last thing that I'm doing, so to actually answer the question about writing boundaries, I'm going to do Silent September.
Go on.
Yeah, you don't know about this because I don't know. Well,
just
anyway.
I don't associate the word silence with you.
Yeah, exactly. So Silent September. One, which I mentioned earlier, one of the main things that that I learned is around this whole strategic achiever particularly have to write words first, because you'll end up prioritizing the shit that you can tick off, or other people's shit, or the stuff that you think is going to make you money, even though the words make you the money. So anyway, to do that, I did start doing 7 till 8 writing when Atlas's was at school, and we almost got to the point where he was trained but he wasn't quite, and then it became the holidays, and so I just stopped, because life is not the same in term time as it is in the holidays. So when he goes back to school in September, I am going to do Silent September, and so I am going to get my ass out of bed at 5 to 7 every morning and sit down and write words from 7 till 8. Now, because I'm competitive and because I work better in the sprints and with accountability, I have just told my patrons, actually I haven't, I've told my Slack group, I haven't told Patreon yet, which I'm going to do next week, that I'm going to put myself on Zoom, and anyone is welcome to join me. However, it's going to be silent. So there will be no chatting at either end, because it's going to be first thing in the morning, and I don't do first thing in the morning, and I definitely don't do first thing in the morning on Zoom with other people and also the school run. So it will be very strict. It will clock on at 7 and I'm going to close it at 8. But if people want to come and write in silence for an hour, they're welcome to. And so
I like the idea that it'll be silent the entire time, and then at like 7:59 you just go bye.
Well, yeah. So no, what I'm going to do is at 7:57, I'll be like in the chat. I've said in the chat box at 7:57, I'll go, how did you do? But I am like, there's no time to fuck about in the mornings when you've got a kid, because you have to, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to lay it out. And if people want to join, they can join. And if they don't want to join, they don't have to join. But like, I'm going to be doing, it's more like, and I said, I caveated it, and I said, this is me being selfish. This is not me. I'm not doing this altruistically for other people. I'm doing this because I need the accountability. I need my ass in the chair doing words first.
I love it.
Yeah. So Silent September, that's what's going to happen. And I'm only making it September because I don't actually know if it's going to work for me as a thing. So I want a cut-off date. But yeah, it's just a way to commit. It's a boundary. So I have learned so much about boundaries. In terms of writing boundaries, I think writing boundaries are boundaries. They're just normal boundaries. And yeah, so I'm going on this journey about saying no, and also understanding that, I also know why I've clicked about this other boundary thing. Yeah, I've learned a few lessons about boundaries. One of them I'm not going to talk about on here though. Anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Sorry, I just went off on a little tangent there. I think there was one more thing I wanted to add. Oh, I have learned, Kate sent me this really awesome TikTok of this woman explaining that when you say no, like that's a full sentence and it's not your problem how somebody else reacts to that. Like that's really hard. My SIG, which is reputation and other people based, finds that very hard.
Yes.
Because I like to make other people happy. Like I'm not a people pleaser, but like when it's within, you know, how do I like to do my podcast because I know that people appreciate it and they think it's funny or whatever, you know, so I like to do things that other people are going to have fun with, or that it's going to make people laugh, or, you know, so saying no and knowing that's going to cause, I don't know. Also, the other part of me just doesn't give a fuck, but like I have this very weird.
It does.
No, I have this very, it's so weird because there's like, now I've got my no list. I'm like, don't care now. Now I can say no because the goal is more important. So yeah, sometimes I'm affected by it and sometimes I'm not. Do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think this is a key thing just to highlight for people. So it sounds like when before you had the no list, the locus of sort of where the attention goes with that no is disappointment or disappointing someone else because of that they've asked you to do a thing. So why can't you help them? Whereas you shift that and move that sort of concentration so it's not so much on you, it's on your no list. It's not you just set those rules, which I think is why rules for what you are willing and are not willing to do in your business in general are really, really important, and sticking to them more than anything else, because like you say, it's no longer you saying no, it's a blanket no to everyone else. So it's not individual to that person that you've let down, which you haven't let them down. They've come to you with a question and you've returned an answer.
Yeah. So there's like a few things that I'm putting in place and they seem really trivial, but actually they are powerful, already making a difference. Yeah. So like putting a form in place on the podcast so that if you want to be on my podcast, you have to fill out a form now. And things like, what was that other one? I just had it in my brain and it's fallen out of my brain. There was a second thing very similar to that. It's gone.
Something.
Yeah. Anyway, so I feel like I have made leaps and bounds of progress over the last month, I would say, on this. And September is going to be the real tell as to whether or not I can make this happen. The one thing I am worried about is the input, because I know my writing process and it doesn't fucking matter whether it's fiction or non-fiction. I have to input first, and it's how much can I cram in the next few weeks. Yeah, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm interested in your answer because you are very good at getting words in.
Thank you. Well, I think also just quickly, that form thing is really, really important, because I think for some people it can come across almost like dismissive and a bit cold because you're not like taking that direct, like from one person to another. But knowing what we know about running a podcast and some of the requests that we get, it helps train that person to understand what podcasters need in order to say yes. Like, you can't just approach a podcaster and be like, yo, I'm a writer, can I be on your podcast? Because you're like, I mean, I have nothing to go off. The amount of people that applied to go on the Great Writers Share who they didn't have a website, they had no social media. I'm like, I don't know who you are in any way. So I don't know what credibility you can bring. And it's a CV you need to bring to a podcast so that they know what you're about.
But the most common request, the most common email I receive is, hi, my name's blah, really like your podcast. I've got a new book out. It's called this. I think it would be a great fit for your show. I'd love to hear back from you.
Why?
Do you know, like, I just, fuck's sake.
Well, the other one, and this...
Don't make me do the work. I'm already doing you a favor if I bring you on my show.
Yeah.
Don't make it fucking difficult for me.
Yeah.
You know, like, anyway, I get really cross about this.
Yeah, I think that could be a whole episode in itself.
Yeah, I really shouldn't get cross. Like, it's unprofessional to get cross about this, but like, it's an awful lot of work running a podcast and people don't understand. Anyway.
No. Yes.
Anyway, so, I remembered the other thing. Sorry, very quickly. I'm in the background. Well, when I come back, I will be doing a resource page and an FAQ.
Yes.
So those other two things will help, because people always ask for editors. They ask for very similar questions, and I just need to put the pages on my website. So that is one thing that I need to do, and an FAQ page, because, you know, will you read my book? I'm a student. Can I interview you? You know, like, these questions come up a lot. A few of those.
Yeah. I'm smiling a little bit because you're confirming a lot of some of the stuff that I'm putting into my productivity book. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. Also, before we move on to me, and do you remember when these episodes were like 25, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I know. But
okay.
you asked me a question that I've literally just been doing like a fuckload of work on. So, you know.
Before we move on to me, you said at the beginning of your spiel about you're trying to find a metric for production. What are your options?
So Pacemaker is an option. Somebody introduced me to Pacemaker the other day, pacemaker dot something or other. And in Pacemaker, it's quite interesting and might be an option. So pacemaker.press it is. So you can set your goal, and you can set like how much work you want to do every day. You can change it if you want to like rise to the challenge or do a mountain hike, a valley, oscillating, or do steady amount of work. And then you can change how it's measured. So this is a bit that helped me. So you can change like the goal. So you could do words, paragraphs, pages, chapters, sections, characters, verses, acts, scenes, stanzas, line, hours, minutes, units, items, tasks, to-dos, steps, entries, posts, worksheets, dollars, miles, kilometers, and pounds. So this is interesting, and I wasn't sure whether or not I could do like sections or hours maybe. I think the only downside is I would have to know how many of a thing there was on the completed project before I start, which I'm not very good at knowing.
So let me pose two possible ideas, because we went to different places with that question.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So production for me might not work for you. Production for me, you have process and you have end goal. And obviously what you're looking at is a way to track the process to get to that end goal. But for me, if I think about production targets, I think about products. So my production goals being each year, how many products do I deliver?
Measure that. I already measure that. Yeah, I already measure that. Yeah.
So it is the process.
That's
of
on
getting there.
That's on my wall there. That little yellow dot there. That is all my completed everything.
So it is the process part of it, which is the difficult part, because it's not always words.
Yeah. And the reason I need that is the competition, because I have to measure
keep on
the whole the start to finish, because that's how I track progress. And that's how I know if I'm on target or if I'm not on target, or if I know that I'm performing better this time than last time, if that makes sense. So
for mine, and I'm sure I've mentioned this in the past, one of the really difficult parts of becoming full-time, and something that I was very, very aware of, considering that I was self-employed a few years. When was I self-employed? Like 2013 for a couple of years. Is when you have all the time in the world to do the thing takes all the time in the world to do. And I always forget what the thing's called. There's like a something principle which defines that the amount of time taken to do a task is equal to the time allotted to do the thing. So if, for example, I was in a work meeting, if you set it for an hour, even if you could complete the meeting in 15 minutes, which often you could, it would last an hour, because that's, what you're assigned it to. And when you go full time, all those constraints of squeezing in work around your life are gone. Like, you used to write at night, I used to write in the morning. That sort of, often it was like 5:30 until 7 slot was when I got my words in, and that was it for the day. And I had to do it then because I didn't have any other time to do it. So I was reliable, I was consistent, I made it happen. Over time, when you're full-time and you have other things to do as well, and your time, most of the time, is fluid, obviously some things are fixed, it does become a lot harder to create a consistent writing habit. Or no, it doesn't become harder to create it, it becomes harder to keep it, in my opinion, in my experience so far. Like, the time is there, it's just because you have the option not to, sometimes you don't, and then it's more difficult to create that habit. So I've gone in and out of phases. I stuck quite rigidly to my early morning writing when I started. I was still 6:30 through 8 would be my first sprints, and then my morning would be writing new words. And just as time has gone but as time has gone past and my business has sort of diversified in the type of work that I do, obviously run like writing groups now. They're fixed every week, and I write in those, which is a good fixture for me to have. That for you, similar to your Silent September, for me that's a really good form of accountability, because I'm there with other writers. Like that time is writing. That's what we do each week. But then coming back to this kind of like focusing, what I'm finding now, rather than having specific time slots, I tend to have specific word goals for the day. And if this week is anything to go by, I've learned in myself that I work on one project at a time, and I decide that I'm going to beast at that project, and then I do it. So I've wrapped up When Winter Comes. I've now got a client book I need to deliver in a month that is going to be basically my attention for the next month. Like not much else is going to disturb that, apart from like the odd meeting here and there. But when it comes to protecting that writing time, especially around I call it family. Like if you think of, so my situation is me and my son's mum are separated, and because I work for myself, there are often times in which those boundaries are tested, because say for example it's the school holidays, it's, I don't know, midday, and my boy wants to call me and she's like, oh, let's just call up daddy for a bit. Obviously I love that as a dad because he's thinking of me and I want to take that call.
Yeah.
But it conflicts entirely with the fact that that's my work time. And like, you know, when she's at work and I have him, that often doesn't happen that way. So those barriers are the parts for me that are quite difficult, because they're the parts I just don't have control of as much. And without going into the intricacies of it, sometimes those conversations are very difficult to have between us. So I often do my best to try and sort of explain that, yes, I'm self-employed. This is like my full-time job. I can be flexible, but at the same time, the nature of my business has shifted a lot from when she saw me go full-time and I was just writing to now I am accountable to people. And so slowly, very slowly, that process is kind of shifting. But it is a lot of quite difficult conversations. It's a lot of reminding, a lot of patience on my part. But ultimately, I still, because I really struggled with, so like I say, if my son calls me up, I answer. Like, I love the fact he's thinking about me. I love the fact that he wants to speak to me. Sometimes I do cut those conversations short, because at the same time, it's not going to benefit him to think that he always has full access to me, because I have a job. And as he grows up in life, he'll understand that like sometimes there are things you can't shift. And that's a really difficult, it comes back to that parent guilt of, you know, I want to be there, but at the same time, like that's not always what life is. And sometimes daddy needs to have that time. So it's, as I say, a lot of difficult conversations, a lot of patience, a lot of sort of trial and error, a lot of like just dealing with your own internal guilt of this. And then for me also, really, I try now to be very, very deliberate. The minute I turn off this computer, I'm away. Like this office is where work gets done. So the only times I was in here over the last 2 weeks when I had time off and I was looking after my boy was during my writing sprints with the group, and during our podcast. And that was it. Like any other work just didn't happen because I wasn't in here, and I keep it self-contained. That said, this is going to be tested in my new place because it's a 2-bedroom apartment, and I have to somehow find a way to fit an office in there and to work. And I have ideas, but it will definitely test those boundaries. But yeah, I think the hardest part is really finding that conviction in yourself to go, this matters, this work that I'm doing matters. And if it matters, it has to happen in this time. Like nothing, like I do it all the time. If I have 2 hours, like this week, I gave myself 7 days to do When Winter Comes, and I smashed it out because I knew it had to get done. There was no debate. It happened or it didn't. On the days in which I'm like, I've got 2,000 words to write today, I'll just get it done in the day. I start at 7, I finish at 6. So really trying to put in those boundaries for yourself, even if they feel arbitrary, and rewarding yourself when you hit them. So like knowing that if I write 7 till 9, I can then go off and go for a walk, or I can go play basketball or something, helps me get into that mind frame of just doing it, because it is very, very easy to slip away from that and just to let it melt. And before you know it, like you have gone a while without writing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my answer.
Yeah, I love that your answer was so radically different to mine. It was much more family oriented, whereas for me it was about getting it done and not, well, I suppose they were the same.
The end goal's the same,
really, because mine was also about not allowing other people it past my boundary. Like I have to, in fact, I completely changed my mind. I think we had the same answer, it just sounded different. Ignore me.
But yeah, definitely something to bear in mind. And this is also one of the reasons why quite a few big author names. So for people who did listen to Great Writers Share, people like Jonathan Jans, people like Paul Tremblay, he wasn't on there, but I'm just aware that this is a thing that he does. They don't write full time. They write in the holidays because they like working full time and they like the constraints that it gives. So for people who aren't sure whether to go full time or not, that is one thing to consider, is that it does shape your idea of what time is and how you can get stuff done.
I cannot imagine wanting to work full time and do this business. That blows my mind.
It was exhausting, but it works for people.
Yeah, no, completely. I just like, it's so alien to me that I didn't even realize that there were still people who wanted to, you know, actually that's not true. Ritu, one of my friends, wants to continue working because she loves her job and writing.
Also a former guest on the Great Writers Share podcast. Check out that episode with more with Ritu Patel. But there we are. One thing, I've done this two of my episodes in a row. Weekly confessional. Sacha will rest and Dan will edit 70,000 words. Done. So how are we leveling up our business this week? You return to the work.
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to go very light on myself because it's going to take me a few days to readjust. I'm going to create a no list. I am going to I hate myself already for these. I'm going to create my no list. I'm going to make a decision about which drafting project comes next, because so I'm finishing my audiobook, I'm finishing Trey, but those are afternoon activities. They are not first thing in the morning drafting, because I have to draft for 160 times a year. So I have to decide what I'm drafting, and I'm really dithering. So that doesn't feel like an awful lot, but those feel like very important things. So I think I might leave it there.
They're very key decisions.
Yeah, and actually the decision is taking up an incredible amount of brain power at the moment because I still have not decided.
Okay. I'm going to have no goals for next week because I'm also not going to be here next week.
Oh, yeah.
I'm off to the Lake District. So I've put for mine, Dan will enjoy downtime in the Lake District.
Aww.
And as I say, that's going to be the first. So I went to Sheffield and stayed overnight in the Peak District, which was the first time I went away by myself. Long story short, spent the night with about 50 sheep. Wasn't an enjoyable experience. Next week will be the first holiday I've had without my boy, in which I'm just Dan. And I am very much looking forward to it.
I hope you have a wonderful time, darling.
Thanks. And just for clarification, there will be an episode next week. I just won't be here.
We're going to have a special guest. It will be me and a special guest.
Exciting. Awesome. So audience question, how did you want to phrase it? What are your writing boundaries, or how do you protect your writing time?
That one.
Second one. Okay.
Or how do you get the writing done? I don't know. I feel like that's what I answered rather than how do you protect I don't know, it's your question. We'll
figure it in post. Thank you everyone for joining this week. Have a fruitful week of writing and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hungry for more?
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear more of my angelic accent and Dan's dulcet tones on our other podcasts.
For more of me, check out the Great Writers Share podcast.
For more of me, listen to the Rebel Author podcast. We'll be back next week holding each other to account as Dan
And Sacha
become
Next level.
authors.
I had 6 hours
Then-
13 last night and a score of 76.
Yeah. How funny. I got 6 hours 13 on Wednesday.
Oh, the cosmos.
Snapsies. We're like
Snapsies.
twinnies. Snapsies.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got, and I had a 6 hour 42.
Oh,
And I had
I've missed you.
hello. And it's been so long. I haven't said hello. I've been
Even
so
your mic
busy.
didn't recognise that accent as a human voice for a moment. It's like, hello. Oh, no, it came back in.
That is spectacular.